The closer the entities are to yourself in their properties, the more capacity you get for hating them, all right? Greetings, this is Eugene the Philosopher, the greatest living philosopher after the unfortunate passing of Quentin Robert D. Nameland, who has been the greatest living philosopher before me. In this video, I want to talk about hatred of people towards other people, like whether it's a person to person or a person to a group of people or something like that. And I think this problem is actually underrated, this particular problem that I'm going to be talking about, not just the hatred of some people to other people. And to clarify what I mean, I'm going to give you a couple of quotes. So the first one is from the Russian writer Ivan Turgenev, or Ivan Turgenev, or whatever you pronounce it in English. Fathers and Sons is his novel. And he says there, in the words of one of his characters, a human being can understand everything, how the ether vibrates and what's going on in the sun, but how another person can blow his nose differently from him, that's he's incapable of understanding. And another quote from Nietzsche, Thus Spake Zarathustra, the Night Song in particular. So, the smallest gap is the last one to be bridged over. So, what do I mean by all of that? Why did I give you these quotes? So, the main idea that I'm trying to communicate here is that somehow, and it's kind of a question still in my eyes, like the smallest difference between people drives like the almost unlimited amount of hatred, whereas big differences, they don't kind of drive anything like that, all right? So it seems like that, like the closer we are to someone or something, the more potential there is for hatred. This is basically the main idea of this video, right? And yeah, so the smallest gap, in the words of Nietzsche again, the smallest gap is the last one to be bridged over. Like it's the most difficult to bridge, right? If I'm 99.9% just like you, but this 0.1%, like it has infinite potential for hatred and war and things like that, all right? So the main problem is people hating each other, like not people hating, I don't know, rocks or people hating water or something like that, right? More than anything else. So I would claim that, again, a person cannot hate anything as much as another person or a group of people. So the question is why, basically, all right? And I still don't really know the proper answer, although I'll give you a couple of ideas here in this video. So are differences, and by are I mean any entities, are the differences between any entities tend to be amplified as they kind of come closer together, if you know what I mean? So for example, like it's very well known that the most ruthless wars have been waged between like the almost like the closest relative like nations, or how do you call it, like religions, for example, or like to think about Christianity and the insane wars people waged over the question of whether there is Trinity, you know, whether God is a Trinity or just a single entity, you know, which is kind of completely stupid thing to wage war for, but yeah, it was a thing apparently. Or take civil wars, where it's literally the same people kind of fighting each other because of something, you know, because of this little 0.01% of difference. So yeah, a difference of this very small scale may create basically unlimited hate, and the bigger your difference is, the less potential there is for hate, it seems, again, paradoxically. And this is what my video is about, essentially. So you're, like, you know, there is this sort of a dramatic trope, almost like dramatic sociological trope, I guess, where your most dire enemy is most likely your former friend or something like that. I mean, you can reverse it and say, well, maybe your most dire enemy is your future best friend, which was actually explored for example, by Brian Greene in his 48 Laws of Power. Is it 48? Actually, don't remember even, etc. So, yeah, like, you know, the most evil Sith Lord is the former best Jedi, you know, something like that. Like, you know, many people are like, for example, they can love their dogs, for example, much more than they can love any human being, actually, which is, again, very weird, because dogs are very different from people, all right? So how can you love something which is so much more different than you yourself are, you know? There is maybe some self-hatred, but we'll return to this a little bit later. So I've also ruminated on this idea of animosity of intelligence as it is. So maybe humans hate humans because both, like, all of the humans have, I mean, supposedly all of the humans have intelligence, right? So watch my video Onion of Aliens Part 3, where we explore this to some more detail. All right. Then I thought about, so basically, let's finish up this point. Humans can hate other humans more than anything else because humans have intelligence, and intelligence is very ruthless. All right. Something like that. But again, watch my video for more details. Then I thought about free will question. Maybe again, the thing that makes humans hate other humans is again this free will assumption. Let's put it this way, alright? So whether there is or there isn't free will, it doesn't matter, because as long as we think it is there, like this point that I'm making, we'll act. And the point is, like, I assume someone else has a free will, so I assume they can do whatever they want, right? But I observe them doing not what I want, but something else, at least slightly different, right? And I can hate them for this, like, why aren't you doing the proper thing, which I think is the proper thing, obviously, right? Why are you doing this other thing instead? So I will hate you for that, right? I cannot hate a dog because I know dog doesn't have a free will, right? I can, like, sort of hate it, right? In like, again, sort of like an instinctual, sort of visceral kind of way, but I can't actually hate it because I know, well, this dog cannot do any different, you know? Well, I mean, the dog is actually like a closer example. I can hate the dog somewhat, right? But I can't hate rock, for example, at all. Not rock, like a rock, okay? Because I know for a fact that rocks don't have any intelligence or free will, right? Rocks cannot change their own nature. They cannot do anything differently, you know? Dogs can, to a degree. So, I mean, we know that there are different dogs. So I cannot hate a rock because it's not intelligent, doesn't have any free will. I can somewhat hate a dog because, well, at least it can act differently, right? Even though it's maybe completely instinctual or whatever. And I can fully hate a human being, which has both the intelligence and the free will, right? So, you see this transition? Like, I mean, this model kind of explains the point I'm making, but I'm still not sure. I'm still on the fence, so you may think about it yourself. So returning to the issue of self-hate, maybe again it's the self-hate that we've talked about, by the way, in the video, a recent one. It's good to pick the wrong path, something like that I called it, where we talked about self-hate and how things that you hate, you only hate because you have it in yourself, right? So maybe it's one of those instances, right? We recognize that other humans are kind of like us, and we kind of hate ourselves, so we hate the other humans. Maybe it's this. I don't know. But I mean, arguably, people who hate others are not very happy people usually, right? So this point also makes kind of sense on some level. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm kind of running out of things to say, honestly. So, yeah, let's wrap this up a little bit. So, you may feel fear or disgust or annoyance or other negative emotions to some things which are very different from you. But the closer the things, or rather like entities, let's put it this way, the closer the entities are to yourself in their properties, the more capacity you get for hating them, all right? And whether it comes from self-hate, whether it comes from inherent ruthlessness of intelligence, as it is, whether it comes from some sort of like a free will shenanigans where I am kind of hating you because you don't act as I think you should, or something else, but there you go. Somehow, the smallest gap, again, returning to Nietzsche's quote, is the last one to be bridged over. It's the hardest to bridge over. And the smallest, the tiniest of differences bring up insane capacity for hatred and destruction and things like that. Think about, again, proverbial social media wars over politics or other opinions, right? like how quickly, like people have been friends and then some issue, like even best friends, you know, and then some issue came up and they're like hating each other completely over it, right? Something like that. It's kind of insane, actually, if you think about it. Another model I can propose to you is like, imagine you have a really well-oiled and like quickly running machine with gears and stuff and levers or whatever. And you throw an indestructible but very small piece of sand into it between two gears, and the machine just blows up completely, right? So this is kind of the model of what is happening here. And I don't honestly have anything more to add. It's still a question for me. Again, if you have your own ideas, welcome in the comments. Thank you for watching. The eons are closing. If you wish to support me, please consider joining my Patreon. That is patreon.com/philosopher. See the link in the description. Or if you have a scientific theory of your own and you'd like my help in developing it, please join my alternative science coaching program, also available through Patreon.